Evening all, hope you're all well, and it is this sweltering heat we're all experiencing. Well, I hope you're experiencing. Down here on the south coast, it's absolutely baking. We went up to about 32 degrees today, and we took ourselves off to a fete, kind of like a local fete at the a blind veterans place, and watched my son dancing with a massive dressed up panda, which sounds exactly as random as it sounds as random as it was, basically. Hiya, Kim. Nice to see you. So, guys, I hope you're all well, relaxed, sitting back at home, chilling, or whatever it is you're doing. Take a nice deep breath, just relax, get a drink. Hi, Joanne. And just sit it down. Just chill out. Spend the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it's going to be, just relaxing and hopefully listening to my dulcet tones. Now, I've never really been one for the radio, so I don't know if I have a very good radio voice. Maybe you guys can let me know. I tend to mumble. I used to mumble a lot when I was a kid. I used to get told off for it all the time, especially in classes that I used to hate, funnily enough. So anyway, guys, welcome to all the new members that joined this week. I don't tend to kind of welcome people as they come aboard. It's just that I like to do that each week and just say, hello, welcome aboard. I hope you get value from what I share with you guys on a Sunday and sometimes during the week. I'm a coach. My name is Sam Wild, obviously. I'm a coach. And what I do is, and what I'm just so passionate about, my life's work, is to free people from their own thinking. Because so much is possible for us, well, anything is possible for us, but we only ever limit ourselves. We stand in our own way, and it's just unnecessary, completely unnecessary. And my whole life changed after I had some coaching, and it just completely transformed. Not anything massive, really. Well, it was massive, but it didn't feel massive. Yeah, nice one, going your face for the radio. Probably true, mate. Absolutely true. And yeah, my life just transformed because I learned what I'm going to share with you guys tonight. So what I want to share with you is one of the most important things I learned on my personal development journey, and it did, and I learned this during one of the hardest times of my life as well. I was in deep depression and anxiety, and I know a lot of people, a lot of coaches say that sort of stuff. I'm genuinely serious. You know, I was going through male infertility, really going through IVF, really struggling to have children, and it really hit me hard. It hit us both hard, me and my wife. And these simple tricks and tips. Hi, Sally, you made it on time. That's a rarity. And I'm being serious as well. So, and it really hit me really hard, guys. And what I noticed was when I received from coaching, personal development, just these simple tips really helped me. And Sally, when I say this tonight, you're going to cringe and your toes are going to curl the amount of times I've said this to you. So we're talking about questioning thoughts, because it's our thoughts that stop us getting, feeling, being, and doing exactly what we want. And that's the simple truth of it. It's our thoughts that stop us doing that and feeling the freedom that we all crave, or that we want, or the clarity that we want, or the confidence that we want, or the ability to just leave ourselves alone and not give ourselves such a hard time. So what I want to share with you is a story of two twins. The story of two twins called Mark and Chris. Now, I don't know why Mark and Chris, right? This is a story that I've created, and Mark and Chris, I've no idea. They're just the first two names that came into my head. So Mark and Chris were identical twins. They both were very similar shape, very similar size. They both looked very similar. They had good paying jobs, both of them. They were married, 2 kids each. So really, there was very similar. Everything about them was very, very similar, exactly the same. Except one simple thing, which is what I want to talk to you about tonight. So Mark was a guy that, again, very similar to Chris. He was well paid, married, 2 kids, should otherwise be very happy. But what Mark was experiencing was thoughts that caused him a lot of stress. The main ones being, I'm not good enough. I should be better. I'm not confident enough. Hiya, Claude. I'm not confident enough. I should feel more confident. I'm overweight. I'm fat, I'm too fat, I should lose weight. I'm not being paid enough, I should earn more money. And all of those thoughts cause Mark a lot of stress. So Mark and Chris are both 50 years old. And Mark has spent, it's a motorbike driving down the road out there. And Mark spent most of those 50 years in stress, in suffering, because those thoughts he was having, he believed to be true. And so whenever we have stressful thoughts, we often react. So a thought of, I'm too fat, leads to a reaction of, I should lose weight. A thought of, I don't have enough money, I'm too poor, whatever that thought is, leads to, I should earn more money. And sometimes, sure, those things are true. But for Mark, they weren't. And for a lot of us, they're not. And it caused him an awful lot of suffering. It stopped him being present with his children. It stopped him being present with his wife. It stopped him being present with himself. He didn't have a lot of self-love, self-worth, self-confidence, and he didn't really enjoy who he was. On the flip side of that, you have Chris. And Chris, like I said, is a very similar guy. Again, well-paying job, perfectly happy guy. And he had the same thoughts. I'm not good enough. I should earn more money. I'm too fat. I should lose weight. I'm not confident. I should be more confident. So he felt all of these things the same as Mark. He had very similar things, very similar thoughts to Mark. But fortunately, and I share this with Chris, fortunately, someone in his life when he was young, a teacher, said to him, hey, Chris, I can see you're struggling now. What's up? And the teacher said nothing else, just, hey, Chris, what's up? And Chris said, hey, miss, I'm really struggling with these thoughts. I really feel like I don't know what to do next. I feel like I'm not confident. I'm not good enough. And the teacher said to him, hey, Chris, listen, I've got something I want to share with you, something that I learned when I was younger, and I hope it benefits you. She said, ask yourselves 2 questions. Whenever you're believing a thought that's causing you stress, or if you're feeling stress, you're suffering inside of yourself, which is where we experience our whole life, Chris. This is where we experience our life, inside of you. If there's suffering inside of you, you're going to feel the world is in suffering. So ask yourself 2 simple questions. When you have a thought, is it true? Overweight, or that you're too fat? Is it true that you're not confident? And then ask yourself the question, who would you be without that thought? And little Chris just had this feeling of freedom, this feeling of relaxation, this feeling of hallelujah. Hey, listen, these thoughts don't have to define me anymore. I can question them. Poor old Mark didn't get that opportunity. So he lived his whole life in suffering through thoughts that were given to him through conditioning, through school, through his peers, through what he believed to be true. And that word belief is really important, because a belief holds us a slave. It's neither yes or no, right or wrong. So from that day forward, little Chris could ask himself the question, is it true? And as he got older and he had these thoughts of, hey, I'm skinned, I haven't got enough money, I should earn more money, he could sit back and he could say to himself, is it true? Is it true that I don't have enough money? And this isn't a head thinking space type thought. This is a sit back, take a breath. Is it true that I don't have enough money? And when he questioned, he could start to see that he was sitting in a comfy chair. He could see the house that he had around him. He could see that he had food on the table. He could see that actually he loved what he did, and his family were really happy. And that allowed him to be present with his family, because he wasn't caught in his thinking. Sure, if he wanted to earn more money, he could have done. But the point being that he was suffering because he was believing the thought. And when he asked himself, who would I be without that thought? Who would I be without the thought that I needed more money? He realized that he didn't need any more money, that he could just go about his daily life in peace and calm, and choose to relax, choose not to get caught up in his thinking. And Chris led a really empowered life because he had the ability to question his thinking. The biggest one for Chris was, I'm not confident. When he used to have to do meetings at work and he used to have to go in and do presentations, he didn't feel confident. And so when he didn't feel confident, or he said to himself, I'm not confident enough to do that, I'm not confident, he could ask himself, is it true that I'm not confident? And he used to laugh to himself because he'd say, I'm not confident. Well, is it true that I'm not confident? And he could actually start to see, when he asked that question, elements and times in his life where he was confident. So it wasn't that he's not confident, it's just that he wasn't feeling confident in that moment, and that's perfectly fine, because we're not always confident, are we? Confidence is elusive. It takes practice for certain things and we get more confident at them. And who would he be without the thought? He could ask himself, well, who am I without this thought? Well, funnily enough, he could just be confident because he didn't need anything from outside of himself to make him confident. He could just show up as himself. He could be clear, he could communicate properly, he could serve the customers that he was with, he could stay present, and he could live a life free from suffering. So guys, my point being, the story of Mark and Chris is that they're two very similar people, almost exactly the same. But one suffers and the other one doesn't. Poor old Mark suffers because he was never made aware that he could question his own thinking, that he had choice to question his own thinking and free himself from the suffering that he felt in any present moment. But Chris did. Chris was really lucky. And I say lucky because it was luck. Shouldn't be, which is why I do what I do, but it was. And he led a life that he could question all of his thoughts that made him suffer. So what happened was he's more present, he's more calm, he's more relaxed. He's also more clear. Because something, guys, that you'll probably experience yourself without knowing it maybe, that when you're caught in your thinking and you're finding that it's stopping you being clear on your next steps, it's because you're not clear. Obviously, it's because you're caught up in your thinking and you're not questioning it. It's creating a story. And this is exactly what happens with thoughts. They create this story, this kind of almost projection of who we believe we are in the world, but it actually isn't who we are at all. And so what I want to instill on you guys is the ability to question your thoughts. And write this down right now. As you're listening to me, grab a pen, grab a paper, and write down these two simple things. And I'll write them in the comments later on as well, if you haven't got a pen and paper. So many people haven't because they just write on their phones these days. Question 1, is it true? And don't try and answer it from a headspace, because in the moment when you're feeling like I haven't got enough money and you're asking yourself, is it true? Of course you're going to think you haven't got enough money. And it's not to say that it's not true, but just ask the question from a heartfelt place. Look around you and really ask that question and feel what comes up for you. And you'll notice things that you didn't notice before. And it allows you to get really clear on what it is you're going to do next, or what it is you really want, or whether it's even true, and you can just let it go and move forwards. So that's question 1, is it true? Question 2 is, well, who would I be without that thought? Because often, when we have a thought that we're believing, it's completely disempowering us. It takes our legs out from underneath us. It causes us a lot of suffering. But when we question it and we start to see actually that it might not be true, there are actually examples of it not being true, then we have choice, we have empowerment, we have freedom, we have the ability to just live our lives the way we want to damn well live it. And that's because, sorry guys, we have a choice then. And we say, who would I be without that thought? And I always remember, going back to when obviously I was going through like the worst times, the most kind of traumatic times through infertility and the stress that put on me, or the stress I allowed it to put on me. Just asking the simple questions of, I'm not a real man if I can't have kids. My wife should leave me because I'm not good enough. She could go and find someone she could be happier with. When I applied these questions, is it true, to all of the things that I was thinking in that moment that was causing me so much suffering and physical pain? I had so much pain, it gave me hernias. There was so much physical anxiety and depression and panic attacks. It gave me hernias that I had to have physically repaired. when I allowed myself the space to ask myself questions whether it was true or not, I just felt freedom. Yeah, of course, I still felt and I had feelings of anxiety and stress and nervousness. But I had choice. And I could start to see the kind of story that I built for myself because I was buying into my thinking. I could start to kind of break it down, and I could step back from it knowing that I exist before the thoughts. Because guys, I'll let you into a secret. We're not God. We control, or we create our own thinking. So if we create our own thinking, then we exist before it. So we have choice as to whether we let our thoughts define our life or whether we don't. We're not God. We don't control what happens to us. We don't control what other people do. That's not our business to understand. That just creates even more stress and uncertainty. All we can do is question that thought. That is, for me, that's what free will is. And you either freely will or you freely won't. So that's all I want to share with you guys tonight. Is simply that. Is it true? And who would I be without the thought? And if this is something that kind of hits home with you, or you just think, nah, you haven't practiced it yet or haven't tried it yet, give it the benefit of the doubt. But if it's something that you're really into, check out a lady, an incredible woman, an absolutely incredible woman called Byron Katie. And she's written many books. One of the best ones is called The Work. And if you go on her website, thework.com, there's loads of free stuff on there, and it kind of makes it a bit clearer. But I hope that has given you something to work on this week until I speak to you next week. And that's all I want for human beings, is to live a life of freedom and to not buy into our story. And when you don't buy into that story that you're thinking creates, so many doors are open to us. All those things that we felt we needed confidence for, we're able to just go and do. All the things that we felt we needed to lose weight for, we're able to just go and do. All the things that we felt we were doing to create more money because we felt we had to have more money because we didn't have enough when really actually we didn't. You can stop doing it, you can get present and have more time. So that's it, guys. I hope that's been helpful. I will pop those 2 questions in the comments section later. And look, remember, if you've got any questions and they come up during the week, then post them in the group. That's what this is for. I know I'm not particularly active during the week because I just do my lives. Nice one, Sally. Yeah, carry on working on it. I mean, you've been working on it for a bit of time, and it does take time. It does take time because we spent our whole life, like poor old Mark, who spent our whole life not questioning the thought, whereas Chris managed to do it from an early age. So that's it, the story of Mark and Chris, both very similar, almost exactly the same, but very different life experiences because they are able to ask, Chris is able to ask 2 simple questions. So guys, lots of love to you all. Have a brilliant week. I hope the sun's shining for you. And I'll speak to you very, very soon. Take care.